This Brew episode shares the story of Alison Covington, who literally had everything until an intense, life-threatening disease called cerebral vasculitis nearly took it all away. She went from high-flying corporate executive to a woman who could barely speak or communicate or even hold her own child. She turned it all around by establishing Good360 Australia. Let's hear Alison's truly amazing story. Welcome, Alison.
Hello, thank you.
Now, we've just come away from the machine where you made me a fairly good soy latte.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to join you there.
And as I said, it's the second time in history only that I've had a soy latte. And I was really scared the first time I had a soy latte. I thought, oh no. But it was okay.
Yeah, they're not as bad as everybody thinks.
No.
I do enjoy them. I find it's a little bit lighter on my stomach because I tend to drink a lot of coffee throughout the day.
It's nutty. It's a nutty flavour.
It is.
And I've always been very, very coffee exist on having soy milk. I'm a purist with coffee. So I draw the line at decaf anything. Decaf moving forward, you should just have water or a hot chocolate.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
That makes sense.
That's my opinion. Anyway. Okay, so off air we talked a little bit about the brew and what the brew's vision is and the principles moving forward. And our manifesto here at the Brew is about sharing real stories with people and our small business owners because they have to overcome so much in their life. So what we tend to tease our brew guests with is we ask you to tell us who you are today and what's going on in your business briefly, and then we're going to move around the storyline from there. So right now today you're the CEO and founder of Good360.
That's right, yes.
So tell us about Good360.
So Good360 is a way for businesses to connect their brand new goods to charities and Australians in need. It's an innovative type of charity where I discovered it from the US. They were connecting large volumes of goods, and when I say large volumes, that's about $9 billion worth of goods. And I couldn't see it happening here in Australia. So we had all the fabulous organisations doing food, but no one else was connecting all the other good things, and I was trying to figure out where they were going, and they weren't going anywhere. So I thought, well, why don't we do it here in Australia?
You've simplified that explanation, but you also make mention and you refer to that it seems unfair that we can work out how to feed people here, but then we just push them back out into their life.
Yeah.
You know, and a full stomach's fine for that minute, but the rest of what's going on with their life is not quite so straightforward.
Yeah, and you don't change outcomes if you don't complete the person, and it often takes all the other things that completes the person and gets them back into education, back into employment, makes them whole again. You know, if you flee domestic violence, it is good to have a meal, but, you know, how do you go back into your employment or get your kids back to school without all the other things that makes your life whole?
Not sleep in the back of the car.
Yeah, and you know, we've got these fabulous charities who are working on those programs, but there's never enough funding, never enough cash to go around to help them complete their programs. But what we have here in Australia is a lot of businesses who do have those products and they didn't have a solution to distribute those products simply. So we are that solution. We've had fabulous brands come on board to join us, and we're the solution to get it to the charities who do the good work to help more Australians.
So let's simplify the explanation and get our audience right into the picture. Let's use real examples. So let's take a real company and their surplus product and how it morphs when you take hold of it.
Okay, so we have brands, L'Oreal, they're the world's largest beauty brand. They have 32 brands in their portfolio. So when you think L'Oreal, it's Garnier, Maybelline, through to Diesel, you know, all the brands that you would see in your supermarkets and department stores. They donate their products to us. We put it up on our website. Charities then can shop online and we distribute it to them for their end user.
So L'Oreal might have a product that's either the package is damaged or discontinued or something like that.
They've changed the colour of the lipstick because you and I
hate it when they do that.
I know you love your favourite colour, but you know, every season it's a different colour, isn't it? It's a different pink, it's a different red, and so that brand needs to then move those end of line on. So we have all these fantastic shampoos and lipsticks, and you know, everything skincare comes through to us, and
they're big numbers, aren't they?
Oh, big.
You're not talking about 5 or 6.
No, it's good size volume. And then the charities that get access to that. So then, you know, people who are moving into, you know, new housing arrangements through to, you know, we've got teenagers who need to be equal to their peers at school. It's all about enabling people just to be like their peers, get back into society.
So a charity organisation jumps on your website and sees that you have 100 sets of a L'Oreal product. What would they do with that when they take it?
Yeah, so they get it in quantities that are usable for their size organisation. So we pack it in quantities for small, medium or large charities, so it's suitable to each size of charity, and then they get to use it in their services. They can't sell it or fundraise with it. They must use it to give it to somebody in need, and then they are able to give it to a woman or to a man who needs that product to get on with their lives. So it's enabling them to be the same in society. So it's fantastic, because if you think about food, the next thing you need is personal care products, isn't it? Like if you're going to walk down the street and feel equal to everybody else, or if you're going to go to school or into employment, it's the basic things that make us feel equal.
How then does that fit with your organisation? Because you get that donated to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then other charities can come and have a look at what surplus stock you've got.
Mm-hmm.
Do they buy it from you?
So the goods are free. They just pay for the cost of delivery to their door. Or they can come to our warehouse in Sydney on a click and collect program. But nationally, we will ship all across Australia.
So how do you keep your doors open?
Yeah, that's always interesting. So like all charities...
From a business model, how do you keep your doors open?
Yeah, so like all charities, we have to fundraise as well. So we also do, the usual grants and go to our corporate partners for sponsorship. At Christmas time, we did a big fundraiser so we could remove the cost of delivery to our charities. So we pre-raised that cost and then passed all those goods on to charities at no cost. And
which helps them save money.
Yes, absolutely. And we've seen, obviously a huge spike in the orders that the charities could place at Christmas time, which was fantastic, and we'll continue to do that each year, that we run campaigns seasonally to be able to remove those costs for our charity partners as well.
All right, now that's some of the technical aspect of the interview over. Where were you born?
In Wollongong.
Okay, so you're a South girl.
Yeah.
I'm a Caringbah girl, so
okay,
there you go. Not too many train stops in between. And did you grow up in Wollongong?
More or less. My dad was in the mining industry, so
Okay.
we were a bit like gypsies. He came from England. We moved all around Australia a little bit, but we ended up resettling back into Wollongong after some time in Queensland and, all that type of thing as you do.
And fast forward, where did you go to uni?
So I was in transport management, so we did a course through Sydney University.
And that's where you started your corporate career in transport management? Or
I was in banking for a little while,
Okay.
and then most of my career was in public transport.
Oh, so public transport even.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so what
buses.
sector? Buses. Okay.
Buses,
Right.
yeah.
Well, they're undergoing quite a transformation at the moment.
Yes, I was responsible for a lot of that.
So you're in a transport career in the public sector, which is pretty full on with transport.
Definitely was.
Married with 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So life is progressing.
Yep.
And it's all absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
And you enjoy your corporate career.
Mm.
So when your corporate career came to a sudden halt, what happened?
So I had a highly successful corporate career. So I was managing director of an international public transport company. So we were buying up a lot of the bus companies here in Sydney. So that was quite unusual for a young female to be heading up, the acquisition program for a French company. So that was fantastic. So things were going along very well. And I said to my husband, we've got it all. We had the healthy children, happy marriage, all the material things we could possibly want in life. And then, a week later, I suddenly had a very serious health condition that stopped my life in my tracks.
And that's called?
Cerebral vasculitis.
Cerebral vasculitis, because I'd never heard of it till I read your bio.
Yeah.
And I tried to Google it, but it frightened me.
It frightened me too.
So I stopped looking into it, and I thought, well, I'm just going to ask you about it. So you were sitting in front of the computer screen and it didn't look quite normal.
No, so my vision became blurred, but I thought it was the sun on my screen, so I tried to change the blinds to make the sun go away from my screen. But then I noticed everything else in the room didn't appear to be right either. And then progressively over the course of the day, I got a sudden onset of very bad headaches. So I tried to get into the doctors and I couldn't. And then I thought, I might just go to the optometrist. Maybe I've got, bad vision or sudden onset of bad vision. And he said it was a migraine, go away, go to your doctors or something like that. And it progressively, it got worse and, nobody could diagnose it. But it did take 3 neurologists and 6 months. Almost 7 months for them to come up with a diagnosis. So
you persevered in trying to find out what was going on because you were clearly in pain and your vision wasn't 100%.
Well, it was more than that. I was being hospitalised. It was a very serious condition because they thought, it could be MS, it could be a brain tumour, it could be, a series of things, but they just couldn't figure out what it was because I was losing all my senses. I was in a very, very bad state because it was a very sensory disorder. But, 3 neurologists couldn't get to the bottom of it, and there was some misdiagnosis and a lot of things along the way. By the time the 3rd neurologist got to it, it was almost too late for treatment because it had taken them so long. But they, I'm here today, so they did manage to treat it. But he was quite upset that it had taken so long, because what it was that there was no blood and oxygen getting to my brain. So for the 7 months it wasn't being treated, I was progressively getting worse.
So at its peak of it affecting your life, there were times you couldn't speak or barely speak?
Yeah, it was very sensory, so I couldn't take light or noise, or I couldn't process, so I couldn't understand what people were saying to me. I couldn't take things in, I couldn't answer. It was all too much. I was in incredible pain in terms of any noise or sound, or the headaches were so extreme. I couldn't lift my head off the pillow. It was just terrible. There were some days I'd close my eyes and I just didn't want to wake up because I just couldn't breathe from the pain. It was a bad place to be in.
So you have 2 young children at the time. You clearly couldn't work anymore.
No.
And that moment of when you said you had it all, you were losing the all. How was your relationship with your husband?
He's a rock. He's an absolute rock. We've been to hell and back, and we just get tighter and tighter. We just survive everything together.
Did you feel like you had to claw back every centimetre of your life through recovery?
Yeah, it was years. It was a good 5 years of fighting to be able to be me again. He had to do a lot. It's hard to explain when you become, quite a high-functioning person, to, basically crawling on the floor and holding down your 18-month-old until your husband can get home, because you just think, where's that 18-month-old going to go? I have no ability to care for him other than to hold him tight in a corner of the lounge until somebody gets home to care for him, because your husband has to work and you've got no capabilities of doing anything except for trying to survive that day. Hold him up in a corner, basically. But he had to keep paying the bills.
Someone had to keep that thread together, even as much of he probably wanted to stay with you all the time, but those options aren't always easy.
No, it was tough.
So eventually there was diagnosis and treatment.
Yeah, and with all life-threatening illnesses, the treatment caused more illnesses. So there was a lot of side effects and then counter illnesses because of that. So the treatment was high-dose steroids and chemotherapy, and so that takes you down another path of more side effects, of more illnesses, and then you think, can you get through that? Because you then get diagnosed with another illness, and then diagnosed with another illness, and more drugs and more side effects. And then eventually you just pull the pin and say, I can't take any more drugs because I'll just get another illness. I ended up with more skin cancers and hip operations and, a series of other side effects of that. So... But,
because the initial diagnosis wasn't enough to go through.
But it goes through your body, the chemo then, and they tell you, the chemo will increase your risk of more cancers. But are you prepared to take the chemo to save your life on this one? But you will end up with another cancer by doing that. So that's what you do, because you want to survive the next couple of years on the consequence that you'll get another round of some other illness coming at you. But you're prepared to take it because you have to do it.
Time for a short brew break, otherwise known as a commercial. Give our guests a chance to have a sip of their coffee, if they dare, and me a quick glass of water. Of course, if you feel like sponsoring an amazing show like The Brew, you can reach us on Facebook or via our website, eaglewavesradio.com.au. We're a great podcasting platform and we're waiting for you. So you're faced with an impossible situation. You make some tough choices. You want to keep going because you've got 2 young children and a life that you adored. Did you wonder why you? Did you ever say, why is this happening to me? I'm a good person. Why?
No, I don't think I ever did. I was just too busy fighting the fight to ever bother with that. I mean, I'd had enough other things thrown at me through my life to go, well, here's another one. I can keep going. I'm just going to fight that. And then I suppose when you get on the other side of it, you just go, there must be a reason why I was meant to survive that, because the odds weren't really in my favour. I got to the other side, and I think that's when I decided, well, if I got to the other side, or when I get to the other side, what is my purpose?
So how old were your little ones when you were first starting to not be yourself and not be well?
So I had an 18-month and a 4-year-old.
And a 4-year-old, okay. And then when you came out of it on the other side, your 4-year-old is nearly 8 or 10.
Yeah, so he was 9. So I think when they diagnosed me, they wanted me to start chemo on his first day of kindergarten, and I wouldn't go. So I said I have to take him to kindergarten because all mums have to take their first into kindergarten. So there was a big fight at the hospital about that, and I discharged myself out of hospital to take him to kindergarten. And then I remember thinking, I've just got to get him to high school. So if I can get him to high school, he'll be old enough to survive in the world. And so the day, oh God, I'm going to cry, the day I got him to high school, I was a mess. I remember driving down the freeway just crying. And I thought, why am I crying? And then I realised it was because I got into high school. And I was fine because I did what I said I had to do in the world, was get him to high school, because that meant he would be strong enough to survive without me. But, now he's in year 9 and I'm doing well. So it's just that you just think that you have these milestones you have to do. And that kept you going, right? Yeah, and it was always like dying wasn't an option. I have to do these things. I have to be there for my husband. He can't raise my children. It's like we're in this together. Didn't have children for him to have to do it alone. So, yeah. And then
the motherly instinct.
Well, you do anything to do that. And even when I was sick and I was going through all of this, I always have a philosophy: you never ask the question you don't want the answer for.
I agree.
So I never asked my neurologist, am I going to die? I would never ask that question because I didn't want to know the answer to it. And he always sort of said to me, have you got anything to ask me? And I went, nope. And I thought, I'm not going to ask that question. All I kept asking was, what's the next cycle? Like, when's the next treatment? When are we going to get through chemo? And I never asked beyond 6 weeks because I thought that's all I have the capacity to comprehend, is we have another 6 weeks, we can get to that cycle. And that's how I lived. I just thought, that's what I'm going to do. And I never cried. Like, I was always, we're just going to do this, we have a plan, we're going to get there. But then my 18-month-old, when he was about 2 or 3, he got really sick and they thought he had leukemia. And then when I turned up to my neurologist, I was really upset and started crying. He goes, what the hell's wrong with you? And I'm like, it's my little one. And he goes, oh God, we can't treat you until we treat him. And he said, it's the first time you've broken down.
Right.
So they had to get his files and tell me he will be okay, because they knew I would not go forward in my treatment until they actually cured
Smart man.
him. And it wasn't his speciality, but they had to go to his hospital and figure out did he or did he not have leukemia, because I couldn't go forward with my treatment because Mama Bear was more worried about the baby than her own treatment.
Which makes complete sense.
Yeah. And it was the first time I broke in my whole cycle of treatment.
Obviously, you got through this. And on the other side, 5 years later, you're feeling better and you're more yourself. You don't go back into corporate life.
No.
Didn't hold the magic for you anymore? You didn't want to get on that rat run again, that wheel?
So the industry that I was in, we were in the middle of bus reform. That's what I had brought in with the industry. And after 5 years, I went back with my colleagues and went, you didn't get anywhere. What have you been doing? Seriously, guys.
I've been in the fight of my life. What have you been doing?
Yeah, and like all the things that I'd been, trying to put forward, I just thought, gosh, I'm just going to hit my head against a brick wall, government legislation, politics, and just wasn't floating my boat.
Bloody politicians, mate.
I know.
Screw it up every time.
You can just see it. And I just went, wow, and I just thought I have some purpose. Like I had to find what it was that I needed to do. And by accident, I just discovered Good360, and it had all the skill set that I had. And I thought, why don't I do something that I'm good at?
Were you in the States when you discovered it?
No.
You were just trolling online?
Literally a newsletter dropped into my inbox.
Wow.
And I went, look at these guys. I can do that.
So they're Good360 USA, aren't they? Yeah. And you're Good360 Australia, right. Yeah. So you've added that on there. So you thought that looked really interesting. How hard can it be to set it up here?
How crazy am I?
Is that what you said?
Yeah, if anyone can do it, I can.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, fought and won the fight of my life, anything after that surely is a piece of cake.
Well, it's just the skill sets. Like, it was a really unusual amount of skill sets you needed to do something like that. So you needed the logistics piece. I'd built an e-commerce website that was Magento, which is exactly what they were running. I'd imported children's clothing. I knew about the retail game. I knew about the wholesale. I knew how much seasonal stock was out there. So it was just all these weird things that I had done,
The synergies.
Yeah, I negotiated international contracts and franchises, all those weird things that you need to know just somehow sat in my little box of skills. And I looked and went, wow, that's really quite a weird mixture of things to have the confidence to go and do that type of business.
But you were using your powers for good.
Yeah.
Not for the corporate giant.
Yeah.
So to change other people's lives.
Yeah, and I just thought, there must have been a reason I was meant to survive. And if I could survive that, I could then change other people's lives and have that purpose to do something meaningful and create a legacy for me. And it was like, I have a goal to distribute $1 billion worth of goods to Australians in need.
Well, and how far along that goal are we?
Well, we're a bit off. So, we've got about 17 million in the warehouse, but it just means
that's not small.
No, but
that's a lot.
It's a very short time, but we're scaling really fast. So it's very achievable. There's no doubt I'll do it. And it just means, if I hadn't have survived and I hadn't decided to do it, that'd be $1 billion worth of goods that Australians wouldn't have. And so I just go,
wasted.
Yep, let's just go and do this.
So with Good360 Australia and you fighting the good fight, you've got a teenager.
That's a good fight too.
Right. You've got a teenage boy, and the number 2 child. How far along the age chain?
So he's 11, turning 12 now.
So he's still cute.
Yes, gorgeous.
He's still cute and he still kisses and cuddles.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
Right.
Yep.
But the teenager...
Oh, he's too much like me.
So you're discovering a whole new world of pain as well now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And are girls in the picture?
2 boys. Oh, no, not for him yet. Not that he'd ever tell me, gosh.
Yeah, well,
I'd
that's
be
the other thing.
To find out.
Well, there might be telltale signs, don't worry. My brother, I remember him growing up as a teenager and the angst on my mother's face. Not so much my father, but my mother.
No, payback is just going to be terrible for me because he's very much like me. Mothering children.
It's the joy that you are here to see, though, right?
It's just amazing. And I just, every stage of them growing up, you just go, it's just a new joy. Like, it's a new pressure and it's a new joy every day. And every time we might clash about something, I just say to him, look, I've never done this before. It's the first time I've ever been a parent to a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old or, whatever you are today.
So you think you're going to get it perfect with number 2?
Oh, I'm trying my best. And he says that. He goes, oh, my God, you're so tough on me. And I go, well, that's the joy of being the eldest, so...
Yeah, trial by fire. So your days were quite, in the corporate world, would have been very specific on your task and your skill set and achieving and moving forward. Now, what's a typical Good360 Australia day?
There is no typical day.
Okay.
It's just, it changes every day.
Where's the warehouse?
So we have a warehouse out at Smithfield, and that's fantastic. We've been donated that by Goodman, so it's a 10,000 square metre warehouse out there. And then we have, very lovely.
Who said corporate Australia doesn't care?
Oh, they're amazing. And I was just about to say, they also give us an office space at Mascot, so they're one of our most amazing partners. So I spend time at Mascot or out at the warehouse. So one day we're doing that. The next day I'm talking to corporate partners about, the goods they can donate. Other times I'm talking to our charities about, how we can help them. Then I'm in there, building the technology, it's just...
Then you come and you do an episode of the Brew.
Yes, so it's just really
And we don't
exciting.
just talk to anyone.
Yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Well, this week for us has been all about speaking to people who make a difference in the world. And we didn't schedule it like that. It just all fell into place. So we're very grateful for that. So since you mentioned that you're scalable, and we are, after all, a small business podcasting station, and there are small business owners listening, as far as scale goes, what does scale mean to you? That you need to grow the business to be able to handle the $1 billion goods? Is that...
Yeah, so it is about, it's about having more impact. So we're all about, to scale, we have to have more impact to help more Australians. So that's about scaling. So for us now, we go from the startup, the seed, to the scalability. And that's all around processes and systems. And that's what we think makes us scalable. So it's having automation in the business.
Yep.
So that, I could technically step out of the business and you don't need me to be there. So it's creating those systems and using technology to be faster and more efficient rather than being very manual in our processes, and enabling the tools and resources to do more. So that's what we're really looking at. We're very cloud-based, all our technology. For a charity, we use a lot of technology. Everybody looks at us and goes, wow, I can't believe you've actually invested.
How advanced you are.
Yeah, they sort of think charities are quite sort of dinky and things like that. But we use a lot of technology to run all our systems, and I think that's what makes you quite scalable if you have the processes in there. I'm not saying we're perfect, but you've got a long way to keep improving those. But I think that's what helps businesses become more consistent and efficient at what they do and provide better services for their clients. You know, it's about being, you know, the best you can be for the people you want to help.
And you obviously love running the business and being in charge. You've just gone apprehensive there. She has literally just pulled back from the mic going, I don't know about that.
Oh, it depends on the day you ask, isn't it? It's like every small business.
Yes.
You know, you have those... It's a
for
roller
10
coaster ride.
cents, you just give it to someone.
You know, it's a roller coaster ride. You're on the absolute high, and then you could just get dragged down to something else because, you know, it's the life of a business.
Oh, I spent half an hour on the floor in my office this morning looking for a pen that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
Because I said every time I use that pen, something good happens.
Oh, okay.
I was grasping at straws on a bad day. That was going to make all the difference. And I know logically that makes no sense.
Yeah.
But to me, it made all the sense in the world. So... where's your husband? What's he doing? Still in the corporate world?
No, we have other businesses.
Right.
Because we were a bit crazy.
Yes.
So we have another business which he runs.
Yep.
So that's his baby. So that keeps him busy. So, yeah.
And all is right with the world now?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Is it even better than before?
Yeah, because I think, you know, we know our purpose. We're doing good. And, you know, like I said, we have healthy children, we have a good marriage, and, you know, we've got businesses that we enjoy being in.
And you're helping a lot of other people.
Yeah,
and
we are.
You'll reach your $1 billion stock goal very soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're having impact. And, you know, it's the joy that we see that we bring to other people. And it's the ripple effect. Because our team, the people who are in our business, it's their passion that's so infectious. So it's beyond me. It's so many more people. We call them our agents for good. It's the infection and the passion of those that makes the difference.
Thank you, Alison. I loved your story, and we are grateful for all the wonderful charities that are out there fighting the good fight, particularly yours, Good360 Australia. And you made a yummy latte. To see Alison's coffee-making skills, go to our Eagle Waves Radio Facebook page and you can check out the video. Like and review this podcast and all our other fabulous ones on iTunes. And follow or comment on Twitter. Catch you next time.